I call this meeting of the school board to order. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with our Minnesota open meeting law. For roll call, we have Jim. Here. Kayla Anderson.
Here.
Teresa Thornstead.
Here.
Rachel Martin-Felder.
Here.
Bob. Here. Myself. Rachel, will you please read the vision statement?
Yep. Red Wing Public Schools cultivates an inclusive learning community where each student develops the knowledge, skills, and character needed to thrive as an engaged citizen, innovative thinker, and compassionate leader in an interconnected world.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, the agenda that was sent out should be the one that's available for you to approve.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Rachel approved.
I'll second.
Teresa seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion approved. Agenda passes. First item tonight is the student showcase. Mr. Cahill, please get up there.
Sorry.
I asked if they wanted to be introduced, they said they were good.
Well, I'll start us off by just saying thank you for having us. My name is Gabby Hartneck. I am the ADSIS reading interventionist at Sunnyside Elementary.
And I'm Kate Safe, and I'm the instructional coach at Sunnyside and at Burnside. And we're here today. We're going to try to keep it really short. Gabby and I are passionate and long-winded people, but our goal today is to do two things. First, we want to kind of take you through some of the resources that we've used to help with our second year implementation of UFly. And then the most important part, we really want to celebrate some of the student growth that we've seen and kind of have a big celebration with you at the end.
So before you proceed, just one thing. So Mr. Pagel had given me a little bit of a disclaimer in here because within your presentation, we have some pictures of students along with their names. Typically, that's not something that would end up being public unless we have parental permission. We contacted the parents and they were so pleased to have their children be part of this that they approved that.
And we were actually going to share that too before the slides. And one of the things that I guess I wanted to pass along to you was that Mrs. Babbitt reached out to her students, and one of the parents was so excited that she had asked for a copy of the slideshow to put in her daughter's baby book. And so I think just know that that's the feel we want you to have with this, is that like it truly is because these students have worked so hard that we want to share it with you.
Next slide, please.
The first resource we want to share with you is the UFly Resource Hub that we created. One of the things that we found when we were working together was that over the years, so many great resources have been shared to support our teachers, but they came from so many different people, and some of the people had left the district or people didn't have access, and so we really wanted to make UFly be as easy to use for our teachers as possible. And so we created this hub where we organized it by the different steps within UFly. And then we're able to then put all of the documents that they might need and new ones that we created within there.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, I hate to interrupt, but because we use so many acronyms, could you please explain what UFly stands for?
Yes.
Absolutely.
UFly Foundations is the phonics program that we use K-3. And so we use it within Tier 1, and then we also have started using it with some of our interventionists in Tier 2 and Tier 3.
Next slide, please. This is another example of one of the resources that we created. This was something that after my first year in the intervention world, I wanted to be able to support my students better. So this really came out of a passion project. I have started creating UFly notebooks that directly align to the curriculum so that students in Tier 2 and Tier 3 can use it more hands-on. They can run their finger under the words. They can highlight maybe the grapheme or the phonemes that we're working on, just to give them some more supports as they're working through that curriculum. I did want to include too, I say tier 2 and tier 3. Kate and I this year, really I should say Kate created a cohort with special education, and I was lucky to be part of that special education cohort to kind of meet and to problem solve. And so this was one of the things that was shared with both intervention and with that special education cohort to support all students in that kind of intervention space.
And I will say, Gabby graciously shared this with the SPED team out of the goodness of her heart and put a lot of time and energy into it. And I feel like the overwhelming response has been that it has made, again, teaching it so much easier and so much easier on the student end as well. Sorry. The other piece I forgot that we were going to share is just next year, title currently is using this UFly Foundations program as well. And so my hope is to work to kind of take Gabby's work and push it forward so that we can then utilize it at Burnside as well next year within that setting. Next slide, please. Now we're to the fun part, the part that I guess we both are super passionate about, and that is the kids and their growth. I think we often look at data and its numbers, and I've been on the end where you just want it to get better so bad, or you just are picking through it, and I think we lose track of the kids in all of it and the teams that are part of it. And I think the kids that we're about to show you like truly reflect the team effort that is going into trying to make these shifts. We have parents that are super excited. We have teachers that are working hard. We have specialists that are working hard. And so the two that you see on the screen right now are Jolie and Oakland. And these are kindergartners, and they're in 2 different classrooms. And these are 2 students who get that UFly Foundations phonics intervention in their classroom, but then they also receive an additional UFly lesson with Mrs. Babb, the special education teacher. And within that time, think of it as more practice opportunities for them. So they're not doing things that are new, they're not pulling from something, they're looking at where their needs are, and they're using the same protocol. So when we looked at taking and pushing UFly Foundations into SPED, the goal was they got these extra practice opportunities, but they also were getting kind of the extra practice at doing the tasks that are required of them when they're in their classrooms. And I feel like Jolie and Oakland are perfect examples of it being successful. Mrs. Babb has gone all in with UFly, and she is amazing at it. I've had a chance to coach her, and I was blown away at how she could take and meet the needs of her students while still maintaining the rigor. And if you look, you can see their fall scores and their current scores. The growth is right there. And actually, if you scroll down a little bit, there you can see thank you. You can see the growth that I'm talking about. You know, plus 20 uppercase letter ID, plus 20 lowercase letter ID. You look at the sounds, both students have grown 25 sounds and 23 sounds. So we're seeing that progression, and I feel like this is where the most important part happens, is that their blending is increasing. We went from not being able to orally blend or read a word to blending with 40% success. If you look over at Oakland, she's blending with 60% success. And this data is credit to Mrs. Babb having a pretty phenomenal data tracking system. But looking at them being readers is the end goal for this. And then when Dale was emailing back and forth with me, she just shared Oakland is writing words with 70% accuracy. Think like CVC. CVC, so consonant, vowel, consonant, like dog, cat, big. And she just put in her message, I should have gotten the exact quote, but that this is something that she was not expecting her to have success with at this point. So a really big deal, and kids that are confident and proud of themselves and are going to be able to move into a first grade setting where they're going to have a program that they're familiar with, and then they can continue this work in their special education class there as well. Next slide, please.
This is my slide. Like I said, am a reading interventionist at Sunnyside, and this is one of the students that I wanted to highlight that we're seeing, again, that success from UFly coming into the intervention at a tier 2 setting. This is one of my students, Tyrese, and the data that you're looking at is letter sounds. So in our district, we fast bridge test in the fall, winter, and spring. And coming in as a kindergartner, Tyrese had 2 letter sounds per minute. Keep in mind, we go by minutes. And as you can see, he's made some phenomenal growth as the year has come by. Our last progress monitoring check was just last week, where he was reading 31 sounds per minute. So the growth is so cool to see. And if you scroll down just a little bit more, you'll see that that was an increase of 29 sounds per minute. And looking at his graph, he's actually ahead of the pace to meet that end of year benchmark. So taking that strong tier 1 support in the classroom with UFly, plus that really strong targeted intervention, kind of filling in any misconceptions and meeting him where he's at, he has really grown a phenomenal amount. Next slide, please. What I love about his data is not only is he gaining letter sound knowledge and creating a really strong foundational base as a reader, but if you look now, this is called nonsense word reading. So purpose of nonsense words is to look at those letter sounds to make sure kids maybe aren't just memorizing them. They might be words like kiv or lop. We really want to see, can they apply their letter sound knowledge and blend some sounds together to make words. We start in kindergarten testing for nonsense words in January in that winter benchmarking. And at that time, he was reading 2 nonsense words per minute. We have worked really hard. And going forward now in April, just last week, he was reading 9 nonsense words per minute, with that end of year goal being 12. And I just really want to celebrate Tyrese because he really is such a hard worker. And you can see now how not only with strong foundational support in the classroom, with UFly, getting that strong tier 2 support intervention, but he's also now taking what he's gaining and applying that towards other skills and has made tremendous progress this year. Next slide, please.
And the last group of kids that we want to introduce you to are a group of kindergartners that are in Mrs. Markovitz's room. And this group of students are a group of students who receive the UFly Foundational Phonics instruction in their classroom, but then they remain in the room during the win time. So the win time is the what I need now time. So think of that as a time where the kids that are left in the room, it's meeting them where they are at. So do they need remediation? Do they need enrichment? And I feel like this group of students and Mrs. Markovitz really are a perfect example of doing that. About a month and a half ago, I was working with Mrs. Markovitz, and she just was wanting to make sure her students were ready for first grade by getting them into more decodable text. So think words that they can sound out as opposed to words that they just maybe know. And so we decided that we were going to start this and see how it went. And so we took and did an initial words per minute from a passage from the UFly Foundation's progress monitoring. And so this is generally a passage we would give first graders. And I put it on here so you can see that this is a passage that looks really difficult. The idea of a kindergartner reading this, we were expecting to have maybe a couple words. And when we did the initial, you can see student A had 20 words, student B has 4 words, student C has 12 words, student D has 53, and student E has 6. So already we were pretty blown away by that data. Next slide, please. She then took that information and she used Project Read, which is like an AI resource that our teachers can use to create decodable passages I'm gonna need help
For
explaining this.
Youth Live. So it will allow you to create a passage based on like a certain lesson's phonics skill. So let's say like you're working on the short A, you can make a whole passage just on that short A, and it'll generate a story that uses those words, or you can put in like your own heart words, your own sight words with it.
And so she was able to take and use that tool to then differentiate within the group. So if a group of students, you know, if you were looking at students who had maybe fewer words per minute, we made a shorter text for that group. Our students that showed that they were ready for more, we put in multi-syllable words. We put in some new sound patterns. We put in some of the high frequency words. And so we took that, and then she used this Read Like Us protocol, which you can look and see what it is, but it's just, think of it like an I do, we do, you do. So the teacher does, they do it together, they take turns reading, and then they perform at the end. And after doing that for about a month and highlighting the importance of kind of that reading smoothly and showing them what it looks like, you can see their final words per minute in the blue there: 44, 13, 35, 76, and 15. And I think just to note that that is a range, like that is her across the board. Like I tried to pull kids that represented everyone in the room, and they all showed growth of 9 or above. And that was within a month and a half. And so to just kind of to show you what a big deal that is, like the sweet spot right now would be 12 to 20 words. That would be where we would think they'll be ready for first grade. The benchmark for fall for first grade word reading is 15 words per minute. So I feel like seeing that makes me feel like we are sending off kids that are prepared. One of the things that I guess we wanted to make sure to end with is just that, like, we're showing you all these celebrations, and we all know these end benchmarks that we're trying to get to, and they're real and we want to reach them. But like the kids we showed you today, like, are truly learning to be lifelong learners, and they are like truly believing that they are capable of what's coming next. And I think that's the part that we wanted to make sure you left knowing that, like, we have kids who are really proud of themselves for what they're doing at Sunnyside, and we have teams working together to make sure they're leading that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. That's a reflection on the teachers.
Absolutely.
We have a really good staff and really good families. I mean, I think that too was a good reminder for us when we were talking to families about this. Like, people care. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment. Just background, school board would like to provide interested community members an opportunity to provide appropriate public comment. We seriously consider all questions and concerns presented, but we follow protocols to ensure orderly operation of the meeting and development of appropriate response. Public may provide comment in person and sign upon the following guidelines will be followed during public comment. We expect the comments to be limited to 3 minutes per person, and that a representative to speak on behalf of the individuals attending the meeting for the same topic. School board members will listen to the public comment, but will not discuss the topic at the meeting. The superintendent and our school board chair may provide a response outlining steps the school district has taken or will take to address the concerns. A summary of the school district's actions in response to public comment will be provided to the school board. Individuals submitting public comment and or public at a later date as appropriate. We expect the comments to remain respectful and appropriate, and not identify any current or former students, their families, or staff members by name. Amber, are you- did you complete your form?
Yep. They're all
Yep.
there.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
All right. Amber Flink, Ward 4. When school district staff was asked by an advocate about forming a restorative circle, district staff stated that they didn't know which staff would be appropriate. Me personally, I've reported many incidents over time. I've had actual meetings about certain staff. Trust me when I say that it's been addressed. There's a sudden lack of awareness due to denial or willful ignorance. When asked about recruiting teachers of color, the response was that the district attends college job fairs in an attempt to hire people of color, but they have not had success. First off, that's weird if that's why you're going to college job fairs. Who told you that's the best place to recruit teachers of color? If it's not effective thus far, why haven't you tried other methods? If experienced teachers of color are not applying or staying, what about this district is unwelcoming? For focusing only on recruiting young candidates without addressing the environment they're entering is not a logical solution. You might get them to come here, but do you really think you'll get them to stay here? Like, have we really thought that through? When asked about conflict resolution, the advocate was told that sometimes families work these things out, but in my experience and in documented incidents, the school has never facilitated those conversations, not even when we have asked for them, so why hasn't that been offered to my family? Then let's get to the culturally responsive programming. The district staff quickly pointed out to programs supporting Indigenous and Hispanic students, but our African American students do not have the equivalent support. There's no paid mentorship, no parent advisory structure, and the only student group exists at the high school level without formal support. At the same time, we're told that ethnic studies will begin in 8th grade. By then, many students have already experienced years of unchecked bias and behavior by 8th grade. Without many staff of color, it's also very unclear to me who will be teaching the ethnic studies, because representation and lived experience matter in delivering that type of curriculum effectively. The advocate was also told about the district implementing an MDE program encouraging students of color from this very community to become future teachers, ignoring the fact that this district has failed to consistently protect, support, and even celebrate African American students. There are instances where Black History Month has not even been acknowledged. Students have faced racial slurs, harassment, hostile environment, and no representation. Y'all wouldn't even let the Black Attorney General come to an optional event. And now, after all that, the expectation is that these same brown children who grow up here under-supported by the district now are expected to stay and fix the problem that the system failed them. That's mighty bold of y'all. You're passing responsibility and calling it an opportunity. Have you thought morally what it means to ask these children to repair what your leadership refuses to address? If the district wants real progress, it starts with accountability, with equitable support, and with earlier intervention, with creating an environment where students of color are actually safe, valued, and represented. Do better, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
So, Tyus, or who would like to go first?
Oldest to youngest.
Sure, we'll go that way. Hello, my name is Matthias Blake. I'm here to speak about the quality of the food. As a student of most of the schools, I've witnessed the quality of all the foods. At the high school, there was feathers in the chicken nuggets. There's been old expired milk, or we get milk that's about the day it's about to expire, which that's insane. And the quality, not the quality, the quantity of the food, like the amount we get for my age and some people around my age, we shouldn't be getting. We're getting fed like we're second graders, when in reality we're 10 to 11, 12, sometimes 9, whatever. But I recently had a milk that was chunky, expired, and horrible. And most of the food's like that too. It's either gone bad or it's just horrible. And if you feel like the food is good, I actually ask you to try out the food for a little bit. Try and eat the food that our students eat for months straight. Let me know how that goes. Because I doubt by the end of it, you guys would be saying the same things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm a Cheyenne Ward 4. I want to talk about the same thing my brother was saying. Imagine taking a bite of a carrot and there's a brown wet spot and it's nasty. And then there's a black hair or any colored hair just and you pull it out. It's extremely nasty. A lot of people would hate this, but it's not the only thing. Like going to taste the water and there's little tiny bacteria chunks in it, and then I can't even call it water anymore because there's stuff in it. And then it's just nasty. I've been eating a whole bunch of food. My friends have experienced it. Even the teachers have experienced it. It's not just me, but other people have complained about it. The lunches, bathrooms, and classrooms need to be fixed. Imagine the random lockdown currently are now just tests. We need to fix the school environment, not just builders, custodians, and janitors. Other people too. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alma, well done. Ty, thank you for sharing your comments there. We appreciate that. It's your brother. Good job.
Moving on to recognitions and upcoming events.
So with our, a few things that have taken place here, I mean, there's always a lot going on, especially at this time of year. Last weekend, I believe it was last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess, we were down in Des Moines, Iowa. Neil Hammer was honored as the National Teacher of the Year through the Kindness Matters program with Drake University, and some of the pieces that were there. A very, very well done program with Steve Hartman. So with Steve Hartman, he's had various kind of feel-good stories on the news over the course of time, and frequently he's working with teachers, and he was honored as well. But as part of his receiving this honor, he wanted to make sure that he was recognizing the teachers that make all this happen. So it was being that inaugural person, being from Red Wing, and the work that he has done was really very, very nice evening. Coming up here, something that's going to be really important, and as we have the Minnesota Supreme Court will be hearing oral arguments here next Thursday, May 7th. Our students have the opportunity to sit before the court and hear them as they discuss this case. It's an actual case. They go through the process, and then through this all, they're working to help educate kids on civic engagement and on the legal process. It is a closed event. This is an event that is not open to the public, and that is determined by the Minnesota Supreme Court. If somebody wishes to watch the oral arguments, there is a link that's available through the court system. That's not something that we provide on our website because this is a court case. We do have some students that are also joining us, I believe, from Lake City. They've been invited here as well. And to top it off, that whole day, we have a career fair going on. So there is a ton of stuff going on at the high school in regard to this next week. Obviously, there's precautions that are taken in regard to safety, and law enforcement personnel will be on hand. So that is, it should be a very, very educational day for our students, and I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. There's so many other things that are going on. We've got prom that's coming up this weekend, and that's a very big event for our upperclassmen. We've got a ton of spring sports that are going on. Right now, there's track is going on. We've got a softball game. I believe there's tennis tonight. There's something all the time. And now that it's warmed up and things are moving along really very nicely. So there's a ton going on. Graduation is going to be upon us before we know what hit us. In between, so there's a few other graduation ceremonies that end up taking place. So the Prairie Island Indian community with our Native students, they have a program, I believe that is on May 29th. Is that Friday, May 29th? And on Friday, May 15th, the Hispanic community is going to be honoring their students as well. So those are ceremonies that you are certainly welcome to attend. So, and then graduation itself, is it the 4th or the 5th? I kind of forget.
It's Friday, June 5th.
Friday, June 5th is graduation, so it'll be here before we know it. So a lot of things that move along.
Can you send us out the graduation dates?
Yes, we'll make sure that gets out to you, so that way you've got the opportunity to be reminded.
And will those be at the high school as well?
Yes, so they're at Hopta Hall, in both instances for the native graduation and the Hispanic.
So do we not think it's appropriate to at least provide the website for the government that's listing the,
So on
Court
this, so basically they're looking somewhat at security things, you know, so as a result, it's kind of the recommendation is we don't share anything more out than is
that's
necessary.
happening?
They've been doing this for a number of years.
They've been doing it for 30 years. They select 2 schools per year. We just got a call kind of out of the blue, and they asked if they would like to come here, and we certainly would like to welcome that opportunity, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you. Are there any other recognitions?
Sunnyside concert was great. It was a specialist showcase, which is unique in that art, band, and music work together to put on
Okay.
a production for all the kids, and it was amazing.
Did Twin Bluff do something similar? I thought it
We
was.
did not have a spring one, no, but we do have something, well, a couple of things in the works, but I'm not quite ready to share yet. Fair enough, Bob?
It is fair enough.
It's close to your chest.
Read the newsletter.
Yeah.
Let's see, administrative reports.
So as you can see, again, there's just a lot of things that are going on. I'll kind of let you read through those at your leisure, but the student showcase that was at Sunnyside, that was certainly a big event and it lasted over the course of 4 days, so there was a lot that was there. At Burnside, they've had the bus stop and walk, and you've done that at Sunnyside too, correct?
Yep, and Twin Bluff.
And Twin Bluff, so that's been going on. We've got concerts that are coming up. So 3rd grade concerts on May 4th and 5th, 2nd grade concerts on May 5th and 6th. We have a ton of field trips that are in the works here right now. We hit that time of year where, and this is system-wide, we've got everybody from kindergartners through seniors who are at various things, and just a lot of good, really good stuff. MCA testing has been in full tilt. So Emily, where are we sitting with the MCAs?
Reading and math is done as of this Friday, so we're busy trying to get all makeups done. And then science gets 1 extra week before finishing that. But we go right into the AP testing starts next Monday. And then so does spring fast bridge as well.
And so lots of testing has been occurring, so we applaud the students who have been diligently paying attention and going through those. So at Tower View, Ms. Pagel, do you have anything you'd like to say about Chris Hawk? I'm afraid I don't know too much
Chris
about.
Hockey.
Oh, sorry.
Chris Hockey, he is one of the morning radio hosts on KFAN on the Power Trip. He is a musician. He has been a musician for his whole life, been in multiple bands. But he came out because he also deals with mental health issues, and so that's what he came out to talk to our students about, and his way of going, working through it, and played us one of his songs about kind of his struggles with it. It was really pretty cool. So to have him out there. So
Okay, thank you.
and I'll say he was nervous because we were the first school age group he's ever done. He usually speaks with adults, so I think he was more nervous than anybody there. So.
Okay, thank you. And then coming up here now on Wednesday, May 8th, 8 o'clock in the morning at Hubda Hall, we have any of our senior athletes who are committing to competing at the next level. So they kind of have their signing day, I guess, almost kind of thing. The senior letter winter breakfast is Wednesday the 20th. And we've got a lot of things that are going on with the HPL as we make that transition into next year. So those were kind of some of the primary pieces that I'd like to point out, and should be able to go from there.
Just one thing, we got a note from Brittany about the scholarship meeting it's on Wednesday at 7.
We have a senior award night,
Senior award night, that's what it is.
May 21st is something else.
So I will look.
I could have looked at my
May
phone.
20th, it's on May 20th,
May 20th, so that's at 7, I believe.
7 o'clock.
Senior awards night held at the hall.
And they had the dollar amounts that local
Yes.
scholarships are presenting and the larger ones, the national ones.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I was so mesmerized by what you're saying here. So.
Looks like the community ed catalog is out as well. Will be distributed May 1st. Committee updates.
So on the committee updates, last night we tentatively finished up our negotiations with the EA group. I think that's the only active group that we've got going on. The other thing that we've got working on is the community group that is working towards what are the possibilities for a preschool expansion, configuration, all of those things. Last night they met again, and they meet again coming up on May 4th. And then after that, they're gonna have their recommendations that they will be presenting to the board on our workshop on May 12th. And then that's gonna help kind of inform the next dominoes, if any, that we gotta knock over. And so lots of things that are going on with that.
Are there any members of the school board on the preschool committee?
No, and that is intentional because they want that to be it's a community-driven group. We've had a couple of times where board members have sat in on those, but basically they've been a fly on the wall and not necessarily participating. It's also the reason why for most of these meetings, I have not been in attendance either. I was at the one at Cobble. They asked me to participate in that one just as a resource if they had any questions. I probably answered 2 questions the whole time and went around and shut the lights off and shut the doors behind me. So that, like I said, that process seems to be going pretty well, and we'll see what comes out of that. Their task is to identify between 3 and 5 things to move forward for the board. They had a list here the other day from last night of 10 items, and now they've got to work their way through and come up with their recommendations. So should be interesting to see.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda and donations. Motion here.
Yep, motion to approve the,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, Rachel makes a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Possible.
Kayla seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? And this would be roll call.
Yep.
Jim?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Terese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. Consent agenda passes as written. On to donations.
so with the donations, we have $1,000 from the Red Man Club to the Red Wing Track Team, Red Wing Dollar Tree. They have a donation for the Family Cobble Center, and there's a variety of things there that students can use, anything from pencils and paint markers to bubbles and toy cars and things that would be appropriate in a preschool setting. Valued at $100. CoBank through Tom Cozzolino. We have 35 HP and Dell docking stations for classroom use. So those are valued at $200. Reister Refrigeration, $100 for Tower View Robotics. And Twin City Trout Unlimited, they have 5 fly fishing combos valued at $500. So a little bit of variety within our donations this time, but they are all greatly appreciated and will go to good use. So thank you for those who donated.
Make a motion to accept the ballot donations with appreciation.
Second.
Jim made the motion and Rachel second. Any more discussion? Therese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Gail?
Aye.
And Jim?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes, donations accepted.
So for my report, I'm going to kind of combine some of the finance and the superintendent comments together. So obviously enrollment drives everything with our budget. So we carefully go through and review where we're sitting right now and where we expect, what our expectations would be as we start building the budget for next year. As you know, the preliminary budget has to be approved before the end of June. So basically, as we're going through, we are going to see a decrease in enrollment again, and it is driven by the difference between the number of seniors we have graduating and the anticipated number of kindergartners who are coming in. So that gap is going to be probably between 50 and 60 students. So we are bringing in approximately 140 students into our kindergartens the last 3 years. And if you compare that with some of the numbers that we've been graduating here lately that have been between 180 and 200, that ends up being a pretty substantial difference. That is driven almost entirely by demographics. So we are just seeing there are fewer children being born. And this is playing out across Minnesota. There obviously are some school districts that are seeing growth, but that is typically, people moving into towns and, some kind of growth within town. As far as within the school systems though, again, the number of students that we are serving is declining, and we would expect that to continue to decline here for a while here as we move through some of our larger classes. I believe that our largest class coming in here now, 7th grade, Mr. Bierman, I think we're at 179. It's in the 170 range. Yeah, so that's our last.
Large, yeah, the rest are in the 50s and.
Yeah, so again, organically, we're going to see a decrease in the number of students that we're going to be serving going across. That impacts things with our budget as we're going forward. We have a lot of balls that are in the air right now, because if we're looking at different things with potential stuff with preschool, if we end up doing anything with that, if there's any kind of reconfiguration, we've got some opportunity there down the road, depending upon what comes out of this committee. I think that we've got the opportunity to create some efficiencies that'll end up helping down the road. But as we go into this, the other factor that we're fighting is things that are going on at the Minnesota State Legislature. Because again, one of the things that we're concerned about is compensatory funding. There has been a proposal out there to help bridge the gap a little bit with the compensatory funding until they get the results of the compensatory workforce and come up with a plan for what that funding is going to look like going forward. Right now, the ask that administrators and school board members across the state is that the state would come up with $50 million to plug that gap for this one more year, and then come up with a defined plan on what that's going to look like. Who knows what if that's going to come through or not. There was a proposal out there for $35 million. On Monday, it had been dropped to 25, and nobody really knew why that had occurred. So there's some things that are going on at the state level that are going to impact our funding. So the other thing that, we just need to kind of look at, if you look at our tax burden as over the course of time, because of the number of students, we've got declining enrollment, the amount that we are collecting in our taxes has been going down. So our tax burden's been going down. That's great. That's good for taxpayers. We recognize that. but it is placing some strain on some of our funding streams. So one of the things that we have talked about, and I just want to introduce this, we don't have a defined plan at any point here yet, but we'd like to at least introduce the concept that we may be looking for some additional revenue from the voters. We would likely do a capital bond levy. And with that, different than an operating levy. An operating levy is so much per pupil unit. We have one in place, and that's baked in. If we end up doing something like that, as the enrollment declines, that number declines as well. With a capital levy, it's a little bit different in how it's structured. First off, it's not a complete general fund deal where you can fund your salaries and all those things. But you can take specific parts of things that we're currently paying for in the general fund, and then that frees up general fund dollars. So some of the things that we've talked about are curriculum. Right now, we spend $600,000 a year on curriculum. Right now, that's coming directly out of the general fund, and that puts some pressure on there. There's some other categorical things that can be used for. We have not gotten really anywhere as far as any kind of defined plan at this point, but I just wanted to kind of get it out in the air that it's something that may need some consideration. So there'll be more information that comes as we work through that. So as you visit with people in the community, just kind of see what's out there. So we don't have anything defined yet.
Which year would you be proposing?
So if, right now, I guess my initial thought is because we've got a general election coming up now, that the appropriate time to ask is in that general election, because then you get the broadest cross-section of your community. But then the actual time the dollars received, you wouldn't receive those dollars till 28, 29. So there's a lag behind when some of that would be approved and when you would actually see those dollars.
So you're thinking this fall?
So right now, again, without any planning, I would say yes. But some of this is going to be driven by some of the other decisions that we'll be making here tonight. So lots to think about. But right now, we would expect that we're probably going to be presenting a deficit budget to the board. If you'll recall last year, when we first started out, we were looking at a pretty significant deficit when all was said and done. We were able to whittle that down. And right now, our projections for the current fiscal years will be about $500,000 in the black. So we've had 3 years in a row here now where we've been able to add to the fund balance. This year, probably going to ask to be able to kind of float us through one more year until we can. And next year, if we don't, if things don't improve as far as our funding is concerned, then we're going to be looking at some reductions in the spring, a year from now. And if that were to occur, planning for that would have to start happening right away next fall. So that way we've got a good clear path. So it's all things that are kind of part of the state of education right now. So
Do you know if they're looking to change the algorithm for compensatory funding?
it's a possibility. So that's part of the compensatory workforce. The problem is they're not due to have their report completed until October. So they're making decisions on this with the funding, and they don't have the recommendations from the compensatory funding task force until after decisions have been made. So that's, some of the pieces, I guess, that are there. Ms. Schoenfelder had asked a little bit earlier, where are we sitting with the sale of the Jefferson building? And right now, I just continue to monitor that. Everything is moving along kind of at the snail's pace that it feels like that we would expect here. But we're coming up on June where we should have a pretty good idea of what's going to go take place there. And the goal is that in July, we'll be able to turn that over and complete that sale. So right now, things are on track. It's just that it's moving slowly. But at this point, a couple more months isn't going to hurt after how many years of that building being empty. And that'll also help on the budget side there, because right now we're about $75,000 a year we use to carry that. So
Thank you. So superintendent comments.
That was kind of it.
So moving to business items then?
Yep.
We're studying pre-sale report of the 2026 Alpha Facility Maintenance Bond issue.
So for this, we have Aaron from the Ellers who is here to join us. He's gonna just walk us through this pre-sale report. This is not something that requires board action. This is informational only, so, Aaron?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So good evening. Again, my name is Aaron Bushberger. I'm one of the district's financial advisors with Ellers. You met my colleague Jody Zesba at your March meeting when you approved the intent resolution to issue bonds. So I'm just going to briefly cover our pre-sale report. I think that was included in your board packet. This is something that we do about a month ahead of the bond sale, just to give you an idea of what's coming up and what to expect as part of the bond issue. So again, this issue is general obligation facilities maintenance bonds, again, to fund your roofing projects at the ice arena and the middle school. So the term of the bonds will be for just under 11 years, and this is actually going to match your existing debt. So all of these bonds will mature at the same time and fall off the tax rolls at the same time, out in 2037. One piece about this specific bond issue is it qualifies for what's known as bank qualification. So if you issue less than $10 million in a single year, it's considered bank qualified. And generally speaking, you get a little bit lower interest rate because it's a benefit for the potential investors in those bonds. So that's a positive part of this upcoming bond issue. Also, as part of that resolution you approved back in March, part of that included participating in the state credit enhancement program. And so what that is, that's no cost to you, but the state of Minnesota guarantees the school district's debt service payment. So it's a wonderful program in Minnesota. It offers another layer of security, considered less risky from an investor perspective, and generally, creates a lower interest rate environment for your bond. So that's a great piece to have as part of this bond issue, an important part as well. Then coming up, we'll go through the rating process. So similar to a credit score, if you're applying for a mortgage, the district has a bond rating. We'll be going through an abbreviated version of the bond rating process because Bob and Chris just participated in a surveillance call with Moody's. And so we already went through a lot of that legwork. So it'll just be a brief call with Moody's, but you'll receive an underlying rating. Currently, right now, that's an A1, and we would expect that to stay the same because we just went through that process with Moody's. And then you also receive the credit enhancement program. So in essence, the state's credit rating as well, which is currently a AA1, which is just below kind of that highest category. So just a brief overview of the timeline coming up. So again, you approved that intent resolution back in March. We're here doing the pre-sale report. We'll go through that rating process, distribute your official statement and materials to potential investors in the next few weeks. Then we'll receive bids for the competitive process of selling your bonds the morning of May 26th. And then either Jody or I will be here the evening of your board meeting on May 26th to award the sale. And then you'll have funds in the middle of June and you'll be off and running to be able to fund your roofing projects that are coming up here. So also included in the pre-sale report are just some additional financial schedules that show our estimates at this time. But overall, we're in good shape. It's a shorter bond issue, 11 years. So we think we'll get some great results when we sell the bonds May 26th. So that covers what we wanted to share with you tonight, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about the process or the upcoming bonds.
I think the main thing is we appreciate the work that you guys do to keep everything on track. We're following all the legal requirements, make sure that everything's done in a timely manner so that those funds are available for the roofing projects that are going to be going on this summer.
Yeah, there are some hoops to jump through. So yeah, we're jumping through them together.
And I appreciate that because I don't jump that well. So, any questions, anybody? Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you in a month.
Item number 2 is response to the resolution of non-concurrence.
So the resolution, the response to the resolution of non-concurrence was sent out to you. Were able to see that. So there were 3 items that they would like to have seen addressed. I believe that we've got a plan there to address those within this response. So it'd be my recommendation that the board approves the response to the resolution of non-concurrence at this time.
I move that we approve the response to the letter of non-concurrence.
Second.
Do we have a, so we gotta do roll call vote. Are there any discussion? I guess I had some conversation with Bob about this a little bit. He provided a good clarification that, because I had some concerns, like we had similar questions last year, similar concerns, and we had a similar response, and it seems like we got the same concerns again this year. And is this a repeat issue, and how do we resolve that? And he's like, this is more of a area for improvement, so it's just looked at as we're working together, and what areas can we focus on? So it's not so much that we're.
Yeah, I wouldn't take this at all as a negative. This is an opportunity where we can work with our APAC and our Native community. So it's, again, it's the opportunity to continue with those conversations and work towards the best possible outcome.
So I appreciated that perspective. So we'll have a roll call vote. Therese?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion passes. Item 3 is grow your own grant. Emily?
So this is an informational item only.
Yeah,
This does not
informational
require any-
only.
Doesn't require any action.
Oh, but I just wanted to share, because we'll have some public relations stuff that will go out with it that I'll explain just so before it's in the district newsletter. I just wanted to share some information about a grant that we received. So before I start, I will tell you that Zach Pruitt, who's the executive director of Jones Family Foundation, was fantastic and approached us and was our primary writer on these grants. He'd gotten these when he was in Faribault. So we owe a very, very big thank you to him. So we got 2 Grow Your Own grants. They're good for the next 5 years. It's a total of $1.25 million over 5 years. And they're from the Minnesota Department of Education. We got both the student pathway and the adult pathway. The student pathway has a couple components to it. So we'll be starting like a future teachers like club during club time. There's funding within this as well for busing for college visits for teacher preparation programs for students to attend. Mankato State started Future Teachers of like Minnesota summer camp. So there's scholarships for students to go to that in the summer. And there is also, and that programming is for all students. There is separate scholarships of $4,500. There's 35 of those over the 5 years that goes to students from underrepresented groups that want to go into education. And then the adult pathway is any adult in the community. We wrote it not just for a revenue employee or within the district. So anybody within the district bounds can apply for it. And that has a fellowship program. We'll identify 20 fellows over 5 years. They can get scholarships of $8,000 per year. And we also then have coaching that's part of that as well. A dedicated navigator that will meet with them to just like go through those different obstacles you can encounter when you're in college. And it has to be a Pell City approved program, but all colleges in Minnesota with a 4-year teaching degree are a Pell City approved program. The scholarship committee is not our district. There'll only be 2 representatives from our district. So what you'll see in the district newsletters, we'll be reaching out to different community groups to build that scholarship committee to represent the diverse teaching force that we're looking to build. So that is actually a community group that will review the scholarships. There's quite a few things we have to do with the state before this starts July 1 before we get started. I actually just got policies and procedures we have to put in place from them today, but I just wanted to kind of share because you'll see a lot about that, and it'll be a community group that helps decide the scholarship recipients. So, and then we, with Chris, we'll work directly with the universities and colleges to get the money directly to them because they are scholarships, not stipends. And we did not limit the college choice. You can in the grant say you can only go to like these 3. We left it very broad. It is any Pellsby approved program in the state of Minnesota. And the state of Minnesota comes from the grant as well. And it's for building a diverse teaching force. And we were meeting today. I know students in college right now that will be applying our first year for the adult pathway that are already enrolled. So
Excellent.
just an FYI on that. Yes.
Since you brought up the Red Wing Promise, somebody that, let's just say that somebody goes to the Red Wing Promise for 1 year or 2 years, in year 3 or 4, would they
can apply.
They can apply?
Yeah.
Since you said 5-year plan, is this then?
Yeah, that's 5 years and you don't we haven't decided. So there's some decisions because it has to be by the Teaching Fellows Council, which will be that community group that decides. We can decide if like they automatically get it for all 4 years that they're enrolled. Also could be 5 years. There's a lower requirement of how many classes you need to take because part of this is, and I know adults that are interested, they often have full-time jobs. They're not taking 18 credits right now. And so we had to do like a minimum of how many credits you have to take a semester, but the council can decide on that if it's just everybody applies every year. But yeah, you can apply it's for non-traditional students, it's for our students, as I know a freshman right now that's in teaching program, and I was like, yeah, you'll be able to apply that first year. And we have students that we know that want to go like into teaching right now that would qualify for the program. So it's good it's for 5 years. So
There's a shortage of teachers. We hear that.
there's a
constantly.
shortage of teachers and there's especially a shortage of diverse teachers to represent the community of our students.
How often can we apply for this grant?
Every 5 years.
Nice.
So if they have it again, but yes, every 5 years. And there's multiple grants called Grow Your Own, which is also why I wanted to present on it. And this one is specifically to build a diverse workforce, because there is one where it grows your own ed assistance, but that's a different grant. So.
Who's
And
writing our grants?
I primarily write them, Zach helped with these. So Zach helped with these, he got them, it was great. We also had like 3 at the same time, so I was an editor on these, and he had got them, but otherwise I'm our primary grant writer.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we are waiting on, we just got the language grant again for 2 years for $500,000. And then I have 2 more that I'm waiting on right now, so.
Are you utilizing any of the AI tools to polish it?
What I actually do is I write it and then I take the rubric from the state and then that's what I put in to Claude and I ask it to like score my grant before I turn it in. Where are my strengths, where are my weaknesses? So that's actually what I do. I write it, grab the rubric, and then I have it analyze my writing.
Smart.
So.
It's a lot of work. Emily spends a great deal of time working on these and it's not.
But these were Zach's act. It was great. He's helping us with it because he's done the whole process in a previous district he was in, so.
Thank you.
Well, there's federal grant, we also have federal grants that are due every year too. Those are a little different. I'm gonna switch to the calendar, we good? Okay, 27-28 calendar. It follows a similar setup to our previous calendars we've had the last couple of years. The big difference you will notice is the pink, which is early release days. Where that comes from is our teaching staff are always limited on time together because we do have our non-student days of PD, but they get eaten up fairly quickly between like MD mandates and different requirements and things that we need. That would be protected time for teams to actually be together, to really work on the things that we run out of time for, like the vertical alignment of standards. This year, we have K-6 new literacy being implemented. That'll be devoted time for teams to get together on that. So that's the main difference on that calendar. You will also notice we are still starting before Labor Day. This is the last year the state allows it, and that just has to do because of how late Labor Day is. So it's a 2-year exception for all districts in the state of Minnesota. Questions on the calendar?
Do I have a motion to approve the 27th and 28th calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Reese motion, Rachel second. Kayla,
No, we got time for discussion.
is there time for discussion?
Yeah, we always do that for a motion in a second.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm gonna speak up for those that are impacted by the snow week, as so to speak, that they call it, the week in March where school shuts down, and how it impacts people that have to now adjust their lives by having children not in school, not learning. When you go ahead and put them in school and all of a sudden you take a break to get them to come back, or the ones that have to find other ways, take time off, can't go on a trip that other people do and all that. I get it. You can take your children on anytime you want, as far as I know. You can do that but us since we're an educational facility, we're gonna grant a week off for some people to go somewhere, and the others are struggling to find people to take care of their children or take time off their work to watch the children. So I think we need to start looking at cutting that back and not imposing a hardship on those that cannot go somewhere or cannot find a place to take care of their children. So I get it. It's nice for a mid-break for people, but if right now we didn't have spring break this year, we could have had June, July, and August off. Those are 3 months. Same with here if we don't do this in 27, 28. And I'll say the same thing on the amended one that you're gonna bring up. So I appreciate the work on it, but I think it's time for us to step back and look at what we're doing here. Are we an educational facility or something for some people to take time off to go somewhere? Or just have a time off for the children? I think you hear from some people that just don't go anywhere. They can't afford to go. They have to keep working. Their children gotta go somewhere else. So I will be opposing the motion today.
I think those are valid concerns, specifically with the families that don't take advantage of the spring break. I don't know how we would poll the community on their perspective and what the community generally feels. So I think the families that want to go on spring break would do so regardless. I don't know if the calendar committee has any pulse on that.
We've gotten feedback from staff,
Yeah.
different staff groups, as we were able to get feedback on that.
Is there any way we can get feedback, or what's the kind of the pulse from the calendar committee on maintaining spring break going forward?
All of our surveys we've done regarding just different staff groups on spring break is keep it.
But that's
That's a staff opinion.
Staff
Yep.
focus and not
Mhm.
community focus. I tend to agree strongly with Jim as far as not having a spring break. I don't know, is this something, obviously the calendar committee has gone through, and I was part of it.
Mhm.
I don't know if it is something that it becomes time that we need to examine this a little bit closer, maybe more so from the lens of our families, more so than from the staff side. So
I'll just add, we talk about the MCA scores, and I'm not saying that they're the way to do it, but we hear people questioning our reading and math test scores, however you do it. It's another week off of not doing that, maybe we be open for 174 days a year instead of 168 or 172, extra days of schooling. So, I'm just advocating it because we're an educational facility, and realistically, I think most people look at June, July, and August as the time to be off. Now we're gonna have graduation on June 5th, which is fine, I get it. But that last week of school is not the best time of year to get anything done because it's so nice out.
the last week of school is always the last week.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
But I'm just saying,
have 33 years of proof.
When my children went to school, and I'm not trying to age myself, but there was no spring break then. When it came up, I have an idea how it came up, but now we have it. We didn't have it for years.
Didn't our negotiating committee though just reduce the number of days that students and staff are in session?
No. So we reduced the number of their contract days, but that doesn't change the number of
Student
educational
days.
days.
So, so that's why I bring it up. Somebody's got to talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to bring up. It's not something the staff wants to hear, I get it. But we want to get the community support and all that, but now we're pushing this on because of some that are not able to take advantage of it. So that's enough. Call the question.
I guess the action item I hear is we need to figure out a way to pull the community.
Well,
It's our calendar.
At this point, you have a motion
The
and a
motion
second to
yeah.
approve, so you have to vote on that before any further. So this time, like I said, probably appropriate to call the question.
That's what I said, yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Jim?
No.
Kayla?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I will vote as aye as well. Motion passes for the 27-28 calendar. 26-27 calendar.
It's like our bad luck calendar. We've got to make edits to it. It's the last one I'm hoping. Here's what we caught when we were doing the 27-28 calendar. And I'm specifically looking at May. We had a PD day on May 14th, which is AP testing. So that doesn't really work. So it got moved to May 28th, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend.
So
That's
that's the
the change.
So,
And
Do I have a motion to approve the amendments to the calendar as presented?
so moved.
Second.
Therese motion, Kayla second. Any discussion?
Same argument, not against the change in the date that you just requested, just the same argument that we're here for, that I did on the 27-28 calendar. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, I was just gonna say that's, so the board is aware, a staff development day, I know it goes right up to Memorial Weekend. Staff development days are not available for teachers to extend their weekend,
No,
so.
they can't take a personal day.
Okay,
Also, it's within the last 5 duty days, and you can't take
Right,
any time off during the last 5 duty days.
so this does not extend the weekend for staff.
No,
Just want to clarify that.
that will be curriculum training.
Right.
Here. Any further discussion? Therese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Jim?
No.
Kayla?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. 26-27 calendar, motion passes.
Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
Item 6, licensed teacher non-renewal.
So we have 4 non-renewals that will be taking place. This is kind of a mechanical piece that we end up going through every year where we have staff that we non-renew. So those are all probationary staff. So my recommendation that we approve the non-renewals as presented.
So moved.
Rachel moved.
Second.
Jim second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Kayla?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes for teacher non-renewals as presented. Item 7 is the Tower View lease.
Okay, the Tower View lease. Stephanie, would you like to come forward here in the event that we have some questions for you?
Front and center, Stephanie.
I'm happy to do that. You didn't tell me I was going to be presenting.
You're not presenting, you're just here to lend support on this as we go through and answer any questions that we may have. So with the Tower View lease, so this has been a process that started probably right about the time I first arrived here a couple of years ago. Jim and I were out at Tower View and we had conversations with Stephanie and Joe One of the things that has been a need at Tower View for a period of time is to improve the educational space that's there. We're very grateful for the space that we've had and for the program that's been able to continue for the last 30 or 35 years or however long it's been. But the reality is that it is in dire need of some upgrades. So as part of this, Tower View or the Anderson Center couldn't really move forward with this unless we had a commitment from the Red Wing Public Schools to be able to continue with Tower View going forward. I was not here at that time, but evidently there was a rather well-attended school board meeting when there was discussion around Tower View. With Tower View, one of the consistent things that I have heard in regard to Tower View is one of the reasons that Tower View works as well as it does is it's not connected to this building. So one of the comments or one of the questions that we've heard is we've got excess space here at the high school, so why are we leasing space at the Anderson Center when we've got space here? So it's a good question, and I think it's a valid question, but I do, just on the feedback that I've heard, I do think that it is in our best interest that we keep our ALC out at Tower View. Now, when we talk about the cost of this lease, so there's a few things that are a little bit different. First, we're going to increase the amount of classrooms that we have there from 4 to 5. So we end up with about a 25% increase in our total space that we end up getting used. They're actually going to have windows, which would be a real nice thing. Much better flow, better students security for the building, some of these different pieces. So within the lease itself, our current lease, it's about $60,000 that we have, or in that ballpark. This lease would be for $97,000. And we re-examine it every year. We base any increases on the consumer price index. With that, anytime we have a leased space, we end up putting that on the levy. It's a specific line item on the levy. So we're able to collect that and be able to spend it on that lease. So it does not impact our general fund dollars or the dollars that we're able to use for other items in any way, shape, or form. The nice part about this lease is we've got the space, custodial items are taken care of in that regard. The utilities are there. We end up with, maintenance of the yard, snow removal, all of those things are parts that are baked into that lease. So those are things that we don't have to concern ourselves with. So at this point, I think that, I worked with Stephanie and Joe and we looked at comparable properties around as far as what might be square footage. I believe that based on what we saw, this is still reasonable, certainly within what those parameters would be. So it would be my recommendation at this point that we approve the Tower View lease for this new renovation they're just kind of getting underway. Stephanie, when are they supposed to kind of start?
This vote is one of the last things that needs to happen before I can sign a construction contract. And we are looking at a very aggressive schedule to try to be ready for fall 2026, which I cannot promise you at this point.
We're cautiously optimistic.
Thank you for translating that into public board speak for me. We're cautiously optimistic and have had a really good working relationship, I think. I hope you agree as I'm looking at Principal Pagel over here, that will make the transition work regardless of any hiccups in the construction schedule. But at this point, we should be able to get it done for students and teachers to be in brand new classrooms, head into a new geothermal heating and cooling system that will save both of us money because your utility structure is based on total usage prorated by square feet. Jim and I have been working on this for longer than Bob's been at the school district.
Can you talk about the security was always a question there. Can you talk about that for the public out there as they're watching or want to watch this?
Absolutely. It's been a concern of mine the entire time I've been at the Anderson Center. I was in high school when the Columbine shooting happened, just to date myself here, and it's been something that's been a part of my educational reality since I was a high school student. This is an interior renovation of an existing historical building that we are largely financing through historic preservation grants. And so it is going into a 1922 building that was built for A.P. Anderson's research laboratories. This building was originally a standalone building. Additions were made later on in the 50s and in the 80s, but it has 3 doors in and out of it. So it's significantly less open than the current situation. The school district will have the ability to control all of those doors. We will continue to share the one elevator for accessibility purposes. So it's in the same large.
Cameras and.
That would be on the school
Yeah,
district.
so there's
Cameras and locks and.
But as far as a much more secure
Right.
system.
Fobs and electronic doors are part of the construction document package.
And that's what you didn't have right now, you know, there was access in and out by whoever wished to come there at some part of the day.
Right, for the days the galleries were open. So if Robin and I will continue to work together on maybe there's a different score of threat levels, but theoretically Tower View could go into lockdown separate from the rest of the Anderson Center facility.
Which has not
Been
been
possible.
able, right.
And it's overdue, and I'm excited that for both of us and for what's been a really good partnership. I've long said that I see the teachers and the administrators that run the program and the kids themselves who work really hard get the credit for their success. But what I see from my desk is that kids come in not looking me in the eye, and their body posture says everything you need to know about their self-confidence. And through their success, through having their needs met in an alternative system and the work that the teachers do, they stand up straighter, they look me in the eye, they say good morning when I pass them on my way into the office. So I continue to be a strong component of the alternative learning program that Red Wing is running in my facility. And I think when you look at what you're paying per square foot per month, when you consider that all of the janitorial services and all of the grounds care is in, I think it's more than reasonable. My take, but Bob and I we can use different words to say the same thing, maybe.
Yeah, we've worked our way through this. I mean, we spent a lot of time, and we've been working on this lease since probably November.
Both of our lawyers took their time working
Yep.
through it.
So
What is the term of the lease?
It's 10 years. Your current lease with us has 2 years left, and so this would supplant those existing 2 years in the current lease, and it would start July 1 of 2026 and expire June 30th of 2036.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease with the Anderson Center for the Tower View ALC as presented.
I will second.
Trace, second. Any further discussion?
Well, I'd like to maybe have a discussion about Tower View because I'm interested to know, I know that the lease is passed on via a levy to our taxpayers, but I'm interested in knowing what the cost per pupil is for kids going out there. You know, just, we're talking about all these fiscal things, you know, bonds for roofing and dipping into the fund balance and going after a levy and a referendum and offloading buildings we have. Like, I just want to make sense fiscally still of Tower View and the lease and the cost per pupil, knowing that we have space. And I know that's been a blessing out there for students. I'm not negating that, but I just think we still have to be fiscally responsible and understand that relationship.
So I would say that there are programs within our schools that are never going to make fiscal sense. Okay, so for example, if we take a look at just in the high school, okay, we have classes that are just by design, they've got to be much smaller in their numbers. So you take a shop class. Okay, you can't have 35 kids in a shop class due to safety things, whatever. It's a very costly program that we end up operating. And at the same time, we would certainly be a lesser system without some of those classes. So shop classes, in a lot of ways, they don't make any fiscal sense. What we're looking at here is we have a program that is for students that are absolutely at risk of not graduating, not being successful. It's not that they cannot be successful, it's just that sometimes a different environment is absolutely beneficial for them. It could be anywhere from issues that they're having at home to anxiety they experience in larger groups, or in areas that they've just not had success. So this is a program that if we're just looking at it through the lens of dollars and cents, I don't know that I can ever make sense of it. But I do feel that it is a program that absolutely benefits our community and that it benefits our overall student body. Sometimes there are situations in which a student is just not being successful here at Red Wing High School. And sometimes just by removing them to a different, having them be in a different space, anytime you have movement within a system, whether you're adding kids or you're subtracting kids, it changes the dynamic. So those are also pieces. But like I say, if I'm trying to make this cash flow, making money, I can't do it.
But I just am curious, because I guess the size of a kindergarten or first grade class, if we're looking at cuts and budget cuts, those class sizes will go up, and you could have that same argument that class sizes, kids would do better if they were smaller. So I don't know how to, I don't know if there's a way to compare, put a fiscal, I feel like there has to be some fiscal piece of it to discuss.
So as we go through it, what we try to do, so right now we've got between 60 and 65 students who are out there. As we've gone through this, that's kind of our tipping point as far as our break even, it's, as we look at all our costs that are associated there, probably outside the lease. So it's a, like I say, it's a program that it's not special ed. Certainly we have special education students who are there, but the reality is sometimes our students with special needs, they have costs that are also in excess of what we would end up preferring to be able to spend. But we got needs, we got to meet those needs. So, like I say, I don't know that I can say responsibly that there's a way to make Tower View sound fiscally responsible. And I do think there's great value in the program, but from a pure numbers deal, I don't know that I can definitively say that.
So do we have any data on graduation rates for the kids that are going out there? Like how successful?
Well, I think,
is the program?
we have that information, but I think maybe, so Robin Pagel is the principal out at Tower View. Robin, can you speak to that at least briefly?
As far as their graduation rates?
Yep.
The students that go to Tower View have a much higher graduation rate. They may not graduate the year they were supposed to because they are that far behind in credits coming from this building or any other school district that they come to Tower View from, but they do graduate. This year I've already had 11 graduates. I mean, they have finished and they have left Tower View this year.
Because they can graduate at any point when they finish their,
Correct. And the others that are still seniors, they are on their way there. I think they are, for the most part, the majority of my seniors this year will graduate. I think I will have a few that don't because they were so credit deficient. But if you ever want to come out, every graduate that ever graduated through Tower View is painted on the walls in one of our classrooms from 1990 up until last year. I mean, last year we had over 30 graduates. So, sorry.
How do you decide like how many teachers are out there or what the cost for busing is or what the cost for courses are?
So the busing is, we don't have any busing. We got one bus that goes from Burnside, runs over there. So the busing is relatively minimal. As far as the number of teachers are there, basically, we gotta make sure we have the appropriate licensure. That's really, we've got 4 teachers who are out there at this time, and many of them are on OFPs, so auto field placements, in order to be able to meet the needs of licensure that are there. So yeah, if you're looking at it purely by the ratios there, you know, there's 4 teachers for 65 kids, so roughly 1 per 16.
And how much admin do we have?
I'm scheduled to be a 0.1 or a 0.2. So,
So basically what we're ending up doing is she's out there, so we're kind of making that work. Is kind of what we're doing. I mean, we obviously have to have some sort of administrative presence because we've got, you know, this is a group of kids who, as they come in, they've got a lot of planning that has to take place. How am I going to be able to get my credits? How am I going to be able to, you know, get to the point where we can graduate? So there is an administrative presence there. The only other staff member that we have there is a secretary.
Can I offer something? I think that many of these students would likely leave our system. And before they'll turn 16 and they might quit school. So from a financial standpoint, that's money that's not walking out the door and moving to another district or just not graduating, which is really tragic. So I think that the services we offer there, the partnerships with the artists at the Anderson Center, those are all intangible opportunities that we can't put a price on. But helping those kids be successful, I've looked at that wall and the students that I've had in class whose names are on that wall, those walls, I knew in 5th and 6th grade, I was doing the best I can, but they might not graduate. I could tell that in 5th grade. And that program came, and many of them came and spoke here. They are successful. Some of them have gone to college. They're employed. They're raising families. They're important members of our community. So I think that's hard to put a price on that. But all those things might not happen for them if they wouldn't have had that Tower View opportunity.
Last year, I don't remember her name, Robin, who was the young lady who spoke at graduation?
Aurora.
She spoke so eloquently, you know, and did such a nice job with her graduation speech. It's one that kind of sticks with me. But, you know, I do think it's a program that does make a difference. It's one that, in a lot of ways, does it make fiscal sense? Probably not, but I do think it does add value.
And I wasn't disagreeing with the
Yep, no.
value, but I thought as a board, like, we do have to keep fiscal considerations in mind, making decisions. So I just kind of wanted to understand, that's why I had the questions.
No, I think you bring up great points to ensure we have make an informed decision. So if we understand all aspects of this decision.
Darren, Jim's got a question.
Jim, you have a question?
I have had one for about 10 minutes. Thank you. Not a question, a comment. If the federal government and state have to pay for their special education funding that they have required to pay and are not doing it, things would be better financially for all districts, everywhere. But we can blame them, we can ask them, but they don't have to pay it. This program out there, and I've been out there, I don't know if you've been out there. Have you been out there and come out and visit with Robin or Stephanie and see the teachers that are out there, the kids that are, you know, some I knew that were, you know, all of a sudden they changed when they get out there. They're just excited. They have a different learning place, a little bit of environment around them. We spend money on different things. We heard a program today. We spend money on this, at Burnside and Sunnyside for some kids. So education in Minnesota is a tough thing. One, financially, secondly, are we getting the best bang for a dollar? Thirdly, are the kids getting everything they need to have? This gives us an avenue out there, and I'm totally in favor of it, supportive of Tower View and everything they've done there. And this is something that Tower View came to us about expanding on, about doing some stuff, and they want to know about our commitment on the lease. And that's how it kind of started with Stephanie and I can't remember what superintendent was out there then. We've had a few. But this is a good program, and I think by having 5 classrooms, we can ultimately have more children there. And we have to have safe space for the other Goodhue County Ed District to bring kids over there too. And they pay a fee for that by coming. Now, not everybody does, but there's space available for them. So I'm totally in favor of it.
I have similar feelings to Rachel when we're talking about cuts and just, I mean, what it's like, I'm not saying we should get away with the program, but I'm thinking about even like the reconfiguration. I know that everybody has an attachment to that area, I think, which is hard. But I have similar feelings just about, I know sometimes you say it doesn't make sense financially, but that's kind of our job too. So I would like more information too as to how much it's kind of costing, and because again, with our enrollment decreasing, and if it's break even at 60 to 65 kids is what you're saying, and we continue to lose people over time, then, you know, so.
It's all good discussion.
So both the ALC and the ALP programs from the state of Minnesota were mandated to track those funds separately. So they have to be standalone programs. So you pull out the lease, like Bob said, we use lease levy for that. But the programs themselves, they maintain themselves. The ALC actually has a small fund balance right now, $30,000. So they do maintain themselves from that standpoint.
Where does the fund balance come from? How is that generated? Or what is that?
Student enrollment. Yep, so when a student goes over to Tower View, there's a finance code assigned to the funding for that student. And then the expenditures for those staff are also coded to that same fund balance code. So if you look at on our budget document, the second to last page, you'll see 2 line items, one for an ALC and one for an ALP. And they're both currently balanced.
So does that mean they don't draw from our general fund at all?
Not in the way the regular students enrolled in one of our other schools does.
So if we generate a surplus in either of those programs, we have to use it for those programs. We couldn't use those funds here at high school.
And so that balance is used to pay all the staff, all the special programming, all the a little bit of busing, like.
Not busing necessarily, no. But
What isn't covered by that fund balance?
busing, there's special ed, that would be separate. That would be about it.
But for busing, it's the same stats we have for elementary, so there's no extra.
Right, the only difference in busing is, so in the morning, Tower View students get on the buses with the elementary students, go to Burnside, transfer to the Tower View bus, dropped off home one again. On the way home, the elementary bus that comes from Welch picks them up, brings them to Twin Bluff, which is where the bus was going anyways, and then they transfer to their buses that are assigned home that they would have ridden from the high school.
We switched to that this year.
Yeah, I knew we hadn't had busing before, so.
We did do tokens on the ride, because you have to provide transportation in ALP, but we switched to that this year. For greater access for students.
How has enrollment held up over time up there? Because I feel like we've had about 60 kids up there every year for a very long time.
We were up to 70 at one point this year. then they graduated. So we have gone down a little bit. At this time of the year, our enrollment is a little bit less because our seniors are graduating. I will say one of the benefits for me, for working at both the high school and Tower View, is that I have that connection to those kids and can have conversations earlier about finding different ways for kids to learn that are not being successful here. And I'm not recruiting, I don't want you to think that, but I also see kids that are brought up in our bar conversations that we have at grade levels every week, and working with families to try and find successful ways for them to be here. This building doesn't work for everybody. And forcing them to stay here, I will say for the most part, we will lose them. I mean, that is just, they have an aversion here. For students that don't attend here, when we come out there, they attend and they get their education.
Let's move on. How's that sound? Call the question.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll
Can
call vote.
I just want to make it clear where the Anderson Center is at, so all of you understand. So our board has reviewed the contract, the estimates, the lease, and I am authorized to start construction contingent on this board approving the signing of the lease. So construction will not start without a commitment from Red Wing School District.
And when does this levy, because that's going up 70%, when does that hit
So
taxpayers?
it would go, so it would end up going on the levy sheets coming up here now. So we fill out the levy sheets this summer, so it'll go on the levy next year. So if we're talking, let's say we're talking a $40,000 increase spread over our tax base, I don't know that it would be noticeable.
And our enrollment's going down, so most likely our levy's gonna be flat, if not going down a little bit.
Yeah, that's been the
With
trend.
us.
All right, so I want to ask the remaining question, I think, is, so if this doesn't pass, what happens with our contract with Tower View?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
We haven't talked about that. I mean, I think
It expires in 2 years.
it expires in 2 years. We would look at changing tactics in what we're designing this new reuse for, and Tower View would continue in current classrooms is my answer. That status quo would remain.
And the status quo, have you visited the classrooms at Tower View?
I've been out there.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
So it's not secure. That would be a flawed discussion, but that's my best.
So we'll see, so.
Any further discussion? Jim?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Reese?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes for the Tower View lease as presented.
I'll be up tomorrow, see if you turn your door, okay?
Give me like a week.
Congratulations, thank you for all your work on this.
Yes, thank you, Steph.
Thank you to all of you who've also put in a lot of work on it.
Item 8 is the fund balance policy update.
So on this, so we've kind of spun this around a number of times here where we've presented this. It'll be my recommendation that we approve the fund balance policy that we've been talking about here, where we've got a range and then an ideal number and some contingencies when we kick things into gear.
Motion to approve the fund balance as presented.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Kayla. Any discussion? Rachel?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Jim? Aye. I vote aye as well. Motion to approve fund balance passes. Item 9, 3-year policy review.
So this is the last of the 32 that we had to go through. We split them in 2 chunks, so it'd be my recommendation that we approve the 3-year review of those policies at this time.
So Jim made the motion, second by Schoenfelder. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Kayla?
Aye.
Jim? Aye. Teresa?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion passes to pass the 3-year policy review. Moving on to
Upcoming meetings, so we've got the regular workshop in May. So that's on May 12th, I believe. That sound right? I think so. So we got that coming up. And that's just kind of the sprint to the end of the school year. So there'll be a lot of things that we'll have to talk about at that main workshop in regards to this community committee. So that's gonna, like I say, that's gonna be a key meeting, so.
We expect large participation, so maybe we should be out there.
I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. It may be a possibility, but if necessary, we would set up there.
So next workshop's May 12th. I believe that brings us to the end. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Can I bring up a couple things, please?
Sir.
We've been starting this at 5. Bob and I were talking a little bit yesterday, leaving negotiations. It's nice. Is this working for everybody? And is earlier better, staying at 5, later? I mean, we should be able to have, after 4 months, figure out if this is actually beneficial. I think it is, but if you don't ask the question, you don't find out.
From my standpoint, this has been a good move. I appreciate it not being on Monday.
Right.
Because it gives you a little bit extra time to get some things touched up and whatever. I do also appreciate being able to move it up to 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So from my standpoint, I think from the standpoint of the staff, it's appreciated.
Yeah, that extra half hour pays off. Gives you time to 4:30 get done, wind up, get ready to run down here, get browbeaten, and then go on the day.
The question I have is whether or not we should be having a workshop again, but this month was unique because we didn't have a workshop, so it kind of felt like some of the decisions, we could have had more discussion prior to, but
We'll get back in the regular swing.
It was kind of nice not having meetings for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. But I'm just saying.
I was so lonely for all of you. But I think your point, Jeremy, brings up how it's a good test of the value of having one meeting be just a workshop and then one regular meeting, because we do have good discussion and it is a good opportunity to get information.
That was a good observation by you about that.
Yeah.
Bringing up that, we didn't have time to discuss things as thoroughly, because we're darn near 2 hours here. We probably would have condensed that down by having further discussion at the earlier workshop. You're right.
yeah, I agree. Any further discussion?
Did someone make a motion? It's always Jim, so.
Right, is there a motion?
Go ahead, I've made enough tonight. Go
All right,
somewhere
I'll
else.
make a motion to adjourn.
Rachel makes a motion, second.
Second.
Second by Kayla. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.